Hello everyone, and welcome to this presentation on creating a business report. I'm going to lay out for you some steps to follow when creating your own business report. The first thing you're going to want to do is to locate your sources, then of course display and interpret your data, plan and draft your report, design and refine, prepare to give your presentation, and of course you're going to want to go viral with it. You're going to want to use some social media. So let's talk about these. Locate sources. You're going to need information. You're going to need to dig out some information on your topic that you can present and organize. And for an intelligent source, you're obviously going to want it to be relevant to your subject matter, and someone who's a little more incompetent might find something that's off topic and try to relate it in a roundabout way, and it just doesn't work. You want it to be relevant. You're also going to want to evaluate that source for accuracy. You don't want to be the incompetent presenter that looks up and realizes he's presenting an article from The Onion, which is a satirical news outlet. But you're going to want to make sure that you are using legitimate and accurate sources. Next, when you have those sources, you've got to display and interpret information and data that you get from them somehow. As you see over here on the right, we've got a statistic that 83.6% of all statistics are in fact made up. And when you just simply write a bullet-pointed statistic like that, that is about how much impact it has on people today. People have seen that, and they don't really buy most of it. So when we look over to the infographic of the pyramid, we see that I've got a few different ways to display and to interpret data, and they go in order of importance and value, in my opinion. And tables can actually display a large quantity of information in a small space, and so they're valuable for that purpose, for large quantities of information in a small space. Charts, graphs, this kind of thing, they're going to be able to both be visually stimulating and display data. So they actually do the displaying and interpreting at the same time in the same graph, but not to the extent that infographics display and interpret. And you can actually customize an infographic to the particular set of data and to really what you're trying to say with that data. And so those are going to impact your audience and make it a more memorable presentation if you use infographics. Up next, you're going to want to plan and draft your report. Now, when you start planning, you want to make sure that you get the right format, both for technical issues and for aesthetic issues. You're going to want to organize your ideas. You want to make sure they're step-by-step, logical, and you're going to do it in this way. And then you want to go ahead and create an outline so that you have that organized information right there at your fingertips. Then you can start developing your report. You draft the body, you go ahead and write the content. After that, you can draft the supplementary sections. You can make your infographics. You can make your PowerPoint presentation. Um, you can find your pictures that you're going to use and this kind of thing. And you're going to want to make sure you write effectively. And then last but not least, as far as the actual drafting of the report, you're going to want to document your sources. In the Disney movie Frozen, I have children, so obviously I've seen this a couple of million times, and there's a song that was very popular from the movie, and one of the lines was "Conceal, don't feel." Well, I've written my own little rhyme: reveal, don't steal. Commit, not to omit. Okay, tell people who your sources are. Go ahead and document that, write it right in there, and everyone knows that you've read about this. No one thinks you just magically came up with these ideas, so there's really not any point in trying to hold back your sources. Just put that information out there so that everybody knows where they can go for the information that you base your report on. Up next, you're going to want to design and refine your report. Words are a tool for the eye. So you're going to want to actually organize and design your words in a visually stimulating way if it's going to have the maximum impact. Same thing, pictures and slides. They tell a story. And so with this particular picture, this is obviously an impactful picture in my opinion. That's why I've chosen it. It's one of my favorites, and it's actually my own picture from when I was injured and I spent several months in a wheelchair. And the day that the doctor told me I could go back upstairs to my own room, I could get out of the wheelchair and walk. I pulled up to the bottom of the steps and I walked up those stairs, and it was painful and I cried and it was very difficult. But when I look back down at the empty wheelchair at the bottom of the steps, I loved the story that that picture told, and so I took this picture, or my wife did, one of us anyway. I don't want to steal credit from her if she's the one that took it, but I don't remember exactly. But it tells a story, and using something like that to tell a story, again, adds impact, adds design, adds aesthetics, adds an element of making your report more memorable to the audience. And you're going to want to put in, of course, some good old-fashioned effort. You can read about design, you can rework and reform and relook at your presentation to make sure it's just the way that you think it should be, and you just redesign and redefine and refine until you get there, and it takes a little bit of work. Then on the work side, you're also going to want to prepare to present this information. Okay, so you need to know who your audience is. You need to know why you're presenting the information. You need to prepare with your audience in mind, and you need to use a little humor, but the right kind of humor. So you see I've got Mr. Amazing Presentation over here on the left, and he says, I know exactly why I'm telling you this. Mr. Terrible Presentation over here on the right, he says, I was told to tell you this stuff, so here I Mr. Amazing Presentation over here on the left says, I organize this with my audience in mind. I plan this just for you. Mr. Terrible Presentation here says, hey, I threw a few thoughts together. Not a lot of planning goes into that. And of course, Mr. Amazing Presentation here, he's using some personal humor. He's talking about his life, some things about him, but he's not going after anybody. He's not saying anything offensive. And Mr. Terrible Presentation over here is taking an opposite approach. He's actually uncomfortably making fun of his own presentation and his lack of skills in order to stall for time as he thinks of something else to say. Up next, we're going to want to go viral. Everyone wants to go viral. Your business presentation could be an advertisement, could be trying to collect leads, but you have 99 problems and social media ain't one. So when you start out here, you're going to want to send evites. You're going to want to invite people online to view your presentation. You can do it live on any number of social media sites, and really get people involved on the front end. And then you're going to want to make sure that you post it to one or many social media sites so that people can view it. You're going to want to discuss it. You're going to want to actually engage your customers, your leads, anyone who's interested in a conversation about your subject matter so that you can draw them in, because that's actually what they want. On social media, people want access. They don't want blatant advertisement. They want access to the company, to the people that can get something done on their behalf. That's what makes social media tick. And so you want to start a conversation with people. And when you've done all that and you see that you've got a winning presentation, you're going to want to go ahead and boost that presentation. Now, what is boosting? It is where you actually put your money behind your post and you advertise it and you get it in front of more people. So let's just say you have gotten in front of 1,000 people and 100 of them love it and are talking about it. You've got a nice organic post going. When you boost that and put it in front of 100,000 people, you're going to get, another 10,000 people liking, sharing, talking about this, most likely. Obviously, those numbers are not going to be exact, but they're going to be pretty close in proportion. And so when you boost, you are making a bigger impact, you're making a bigger splash out into internet land, and you're reaching a lot of people that you wouldn't have otherwise, and it can be worth your money. And I thank you for coming to my presentation, and you all have a wonderful day.